the consumer protection laws in Zimbabwe? The key highlights. What essentially does it say?
Consumer protection laws came into existence because of the recognition of the imbalance between the producers of goods or the purveyors of goods versus the consumers of goods. And so the balance of power there is obviously skewed in favor of the maker of the product. So government saw it fit to come to create a law for the protection of consumers.
Do I necessarily have to engage a lawyer, or can't I just go and report somewhere and say, look, I bought product A, it was defective, or it didn't meet my standards?
Yeah, so choice of a lawyer may not be always appropriate.
Yeah.
Particularly when you consider the value of the item in question. It might not be worthy to spend more money on it. And I think if you go to the Consumer Council of Zimbabwe and make a complaint, their investigative arm is probably the best way to try and resolve the issue.
This is Expertly Speaking with me, Farai Mwakutuya. Today I'm speaking to Advocate Fortune Chasi. Great to have you here again.
Thank you very much.
All right. Today I think we're talking about something that, I think has come to the fore in the last few years because we actually have an act and a commission that has come as a result out of that, and that is consumer protection. A lot of the time, people experiences people have had no returns, parking at own risk, all those sort of issues that people had problems with. So I think the law essentially might have been put in place to address those issues. But to begin with, let's look at the consumer protection laws in Zimbabwe. The key highlights. What essentially does it say?
Well, basically, consumer protection laws came into existence because of the recognition of the imbalance between the producers of goods or the purveyors of goods versus the consumers of goods. So you have little Farai there buying an item for $20 that has been produced by a multinational. And so the balance of power there is obviously skewed in favor of the maker of the product. So government saw it fit to come to create a law for the protection of consumers, which involved the creation of the Consumer Council of Zimbabwe. One doesn't hear much, certainly I do not, and I'm not quite sure to what extent the Consumer Council publicizes its work. I remember that at some point when I was in government and we were constituting a board, the ZESA board in particular, you remember there were so many issues around, complaints around ZESA and so forth. And we decided that we're going to have a member, I think it was the chairperson of the Consumer Council, to come and sit on the board so that they have the opportunity to learn and understand the public's complaints and issues on matters relating to the supply and tariff issues surrounding the area of electricity. So yes, that's the basic. So you have the Consumer Protection Act. That's the basic law that one has to look at. You also have provisions under the Competition Act. The primary idea being that competition has to be regulated so that producers of goods who dominate a particular market may subject that market to abuse by charging whatever they want or undercutting others to the detriment of the industry.
Or colluding to say,
Or
as
colluding.
players, we don't charge below
Yes,
$50
exactly.
for this. Yeah.
Yes. Then you also have the Consumer Contracts Act, which is meant basically to deal with this imbalance that we have spoken about and to protect consumers. Unfortunately, these laws are known more by lawyers than by the public. And even if one knows about it, say you bought a product worth $100 and you have a dispute around it, you need a lawyer to help you with it.
Yeah.
And you'll pay a significant amount of money. You go to the courts and so forth. It's time consuming. And so, yeah, it's problematic in that respect.
What needs to be done in your view to make sure that there is this awareness?
Yeah, I think organizations like the Consumer Council of Zimbabwe need awareness campaigns that are sustained. You know, particularly when you are in an environment of high inflation, high informalization. A lot of trade happens kumpedzanamo, for example. You buy a defective dress there. How do you even begin to talk about consumer protection there?
True.
Unokwanisa kupedza watorohwa ikoko.
Kunzi wautinetsa chibva.
Yeah. You know, there's this story I heard about somebody who bought a shoe from a certain type of shop. And by the time they wore it and then they crossed the road and it got torn and so forth. And so they went back to the shop and they said, I bought this shoe just now. Look at what has happened. And the shopkeeper said, you are very lucky. It wasn't meant to go to get that far. It was just meant to get
here. Yeah.
End of the matter. Yeah. So I think there is a need for help for consumers, given the level of informalization. But does the Consumer Council have sufficient capacity to deal with these issues? Do they get sufficient funding? I think those are key considerations to look at.
So the point you've just mentioned, I think it speaks to the issue of returns.
Yeah.
And one might then say, given the informalization, people might say, if you are going, for instance, kumpedzanamo, you should. That's what you should expect, because that is the market you've gone to. Kwasiyana neku up market wekuti you'll get a receipt, you'll get warranties and things like that. So, in view of that, again, can we enforce these laws if we are saying ndoze kweko ndezve pasi pemuti?
Yeah, you see, unfortunately, that type of situation where you have no recourse to the seller is part and parcel of informalization. And your lack of regulation, actually.
Yeah.
They are not regulated. So Consumer Council don't even know that somebody like that exists. They don't have an address. If you go to the same spot tomorrow, you may find they're not there, there's somebody else. And so I think that comes with that package of informalization, which results in the loss of rights for people. Yeah. So all sorts of things can happen there. You can be given fake notes as change. When you come back, the guy is not there, or the guy just says, no, that's your money. I didn't give it to you. Even if you are still standing there, they will say, I didn't. Please don't bother me. You're making me angry now.
Yeah. Okay, but I suppose turning more now to the more formal and the content and the rights that come with these consumer protection laws.
Yeah.
Things as I've mentioned, like parking at own risk, no returns. Are those things still, is it possible for a business to say, I am coming onto your premises to shop or to do business in your establishment, and then you tell me parking at own risk? Is that acceptable?
Yeah, so that's an interesting but difficult one in the sense that if you have 1,000 cars parked at a shopping mall, is it fair and proper to say that the shop that or the administrators of that shopping mall should guarantee that your vehicle will not be broken into? That is not their line of business. And yeah, so they try as much as possible to put visible marks showing that the parking is at your own risk. And if you do park, as you are likely to do, when going to shop, they are simply saying, look, if your vehicle is broken into, we've given you notice that we're not liable. There could be instances where that is arguable, but a customer has to make a cost-benefit assessment to see whether it's worthwhile. I have left my vehicle outside. I don't know what is happening there. And imagine if I then said, you are accountable if my car has been broken into. It would be an enormous burden.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned earlier the example, I've bought something for $100 manufactured by some big manufacturer. The balance of power is obviously skewed, but are there ways in which, or does this law make it easier for me as a consumer do I necessarily have to engage a lawyer, or can't I just go and report somewhere and say, look, I bought product A, it was defective, or it didn't meet my standards?
Yeah, so choice of a lawyer may not be always appropriate.
Yeah.
Particularly when you consider the value of the item in question. It might not be worthy to spend more money on it. And I think if you go to the Consumer Council of Zimbabwe and make a complaint, their investigative arm is probably the best way to try and resolve the issue. And I'm not sure if the Ministry of Industry and Trade also have, because the Consumer Council fall under them. And I'm sure they would also have an active interest, and maybe they'll refer you to the Consumer Council.
Indeed.
Yeah.
More often than not now we see people taking to social media, for instance, to complain and talk about services or products that they are not happy with. Does that not open up another legal can of worms? Again, if I go and claim that this shirt that I brought from Chassis retailers got torn within an hour, and I put it on social media, is that not potentially also something that could open me up to?
Yeah, but you see, I think you have to look at that within the context of the cost of having to instruct a lawyer to deal with your shirt. But if your shirt is made of gold, yes, it might be worth going to a lawyer. But if it's a shirt that I bought from Pero, Southerton, it may not be worth it. But I think people do that when they buy the item, they go back to the seller. They say, there is a problem with your shirt. And the person tells them to go to hell. So they have now privatized consumer protection. They now want to get at you.
Yeah.
So I think that on its own is not necessarily a bad thing, because one also believes I'm protecting myself, but the public needs to know that if you go to chassis tailors, this is the treatment you will get.
Is it not potential grounds for chassis tailors to say you are defaming us, you are tarnishing our
It
image
is
unfairly?
possible. So and that is likely to happen. But you have one of the things that a company will not want to do is to then be pulled into the mud publicly. So there could be wisdom in them to say, okay, Mr. Farai, come, tukupeng me shirt. You know, we're sorry about what happened, and the thing dies. Rather than then, taking it onto X, onto Instagram, and it keeps on going on and on.
Snowballing, yeah.
People say there's no publicity, that is bad publicity, but some of the publicity could actually destroy the business because people say, I'm not going there. Yeah.
Okay. So I think very lastly, again, just looking now specifically at the laws and the legislations, the rights that consumers now have, we are more empowered, are we? And perhaps just give us a few practical examples of how so.
Yeah, so I think that the laws exist on paper. And I think if one were to carry out an audit, there would be very few cases that have gone through the courts around this area. Partly because maybe companies may want to resolve matters amicably, like I said, to just say, okay. But we have seen on social media people complaining about mobile companies, how they charge, and quality of service, and so forth. Whilst that may be useful in areas where an industry is properly and heavily regulated, it is necessary for the regulatory authority to be an entry point for resolving the problem. Yeah, so one can think about banking, for example. Issues can be raised with the central bank. Yeah, banks don't like negative publicity. There's also the Bankers Association, where people, which is a meeting place for banks. It's not really meant to deal with consumer protection, but it's meant to be a place where issues pertaining to the banking industry are consolidated and maybe taken to government or to the Reserve Bank itself. So so those are some of the things that one could do.
In a nutshell, I think just obviously to wrap this up is the law exists. We just need to create awareness about it. The public needs to know that there is an act that now gives them an added layer of protection, and to be able to enforce those laws and those rights.
Yes, yeah. So there is a lot of activism that is required in order to bring information to the public. Some buy items which maybe to you and me might not be worth much, but maybe for somebody to buy a television, it's a lot of money by any standards. And if it breaks down after a week, they are really, justifiably aggrieved by what has happened, and they need to know where to go. And I think both the government and government agencies need to make those processes clear as to what an individual can do to get recourse.
And disappear as members of the public and just complaining. Let's take matters into. I'll give you a practical example that I'm also currently experiencing. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I did a transaction, payment via a mobile platform. The things I was meant to buy, the seller said it reversed, and it's a small amount. This is about $2-3. Said it reversed, and you'll get a notification but in 24 hours it should have reversed. It's been 2 weeks, it hasn't reversed. So when I went back to say it hasn't reversed, I said, okay, fine. All we can do is write a letter for you, give us the details of the day of the transaction, write a letter, and then you can take it to the service provider. Now, I'm now saying for $2,
Is it worth it?
Is it
So
worth
you
it?
give up.
Yes, you give up. But again, in the bigger scheme of things, if this has happened to 500,000 customers, it's $1 million.
It is, yeah. So I think what is important is to note that government departments have actually been effective in some respects in terms of enforcing certain decisions. For example, overpricing. People have been, investigators have been sent out to go and check what is happening, and retailers have been punished. And I think in the past also fewer retailers also faced penalties. So I think it's really important not just to complain quietly, but to make sure that the relevant government authority, government agency gets to know about what is happening, and sometimes the solution could be a very quick one.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Let's end it here. Advocate Fortune Chasi, we've been talking about consumer protection. Obviously, if you want to get more information, if there are other areas that you want us to delve deeper into around this topic, or if you have specific questions, then get in touch with us via our social and digital media platforms, which are appearing on your screen right now. Would love to hear from you. Get in touch with us. Expertly Speaking, we'll be back again next time. Be sure to join us then. Bye for now.